Students, I welcome you to the next session, block 3 and 4, and in this session we will talk about value addition and plant layout and sanitary management in processing plants. So the first topic which we are going to cover is the processing and preservation. Now in processing and preservation, the first and the foremost thing that we have to know is that when we process fruits and vegetables, we extract juice or pulp. Now it's very important to know the difference between juice and pulp. Now this is a natural liquid or juice which is pressed out of the edible portion, and like when you press pineapple or orange juice, you get a juice. But like suppose if you press a mango, you get a pulp. So pulp and juice are two important different things. Now this is a simple flow chart for the extraction of juice from harvesting, washing, sorting, crushing. You crush the fruits, and then in case of juices you have to give a very important treatment, which is an enzyme treatment. Now this enzyme treatment will help to extract more juice, and followed by enzyme treatment, it is followed by a clarification, and finally when you fill and then you cork the bottles and then you pasteurize. Now for extraction of juice, we have used the term enzyme. Enzyme liquefaction is specifically used for extraction of or increasing the juice yield. Like suppose if you have a mango pulp. Now mango pulp is basically a pulp. Now but if you want to convert this pulp into a juice, then you have to use certain enzymes. Now these enzymes are known as pectolytic enzymes. Similarly, if you have banana, now if you want to convert banana into a juice, then you have to use these enzymes. Now these enzymes, they help to increase the yield of the juice, and also you get more nutrition in these kinds of juices. Now there are the different kinds of machines which we use for the extraction of juice. The common ones are the screw type extractor, then you have hydraulic press, and then the common lime juice extractors. There is another term, clarification of juices, which is used in your text. Now clarification, as if you see, in this bottle, there are two types of juices. One is the cloudy juice, and then if this juice is allowed to remain for about say 2 or 3 months, you will see sediment settling down. So this is known as clarification. Now this clarification can be a natural clarification, as if you see in this bottle of lime juice. And this clarification can also be, artificially created. You can use certain chemicals. You can use gelatin, or you can use casein or some other enzymes to enhance this clarification so that you get a clear juice. So it is very important, first of all, the enzymatic liquefaction to get a juice, and then finally clarification of this juice. Then from these juices or pulp, you can make different kinds of products. You can make a cordial, squash and syrup, concentrates, powders and RTS, that is ready to serve beverages. Now it's important to understand the difference between these type of products. The difference lies in the content of bricks, that is total soluble solids, or the pulp percentage. As if you can see here, in case of squash, the bricks is 40 degree and the pulp can be about 25 to 40. In case of syrup, it is the bricks is very high. Similarly, of course, powders is a different entity in which the entire moisture is removed. Then what are the different techniques for preservation of fruit juices? The common technique which you already must have read is the flash pasteurization, in which you heat at very high at high temperature short time, that is 90 degrees C, and then keep it for about 1 minute. The other methods are chemical preservatives. Now in this, the two important preservatives which we use are sodium benzoate and potassium metabisulfite. Then other methods could be carbonation or even drying and concentration. Now it's important to know what is the difference in these kinds of preservatives. We have talked about potassium metabisulfite and sodium benzoate. Now KMS is basically used for, it is not used for red color juices, but it can be used for mango and lime and pineapple. Like if you want to use KMS for this grape juice, You cannot use KMS for grape, but you can use sodium benzoate for grape, because KMS will bleach away this color. So always remember this important difference, that the kind of product in which you are going to use these preservative. KMS can be used for lime, mango and pineapple, and this is effective against bacteria, whereas sodium benzoate is effective against the yeast. Then also carbonation is one other way of preservation, and in which the concentration of carbon dioxide is 1 to 5% and pressure about 7 kg per centimeter square. Then there is another method which is a advanced method of, that is concentration, in which the water is completely is partially removed. Now this is the normal method, in which osmosis takes place, but in case of the concentration, membrane filters are used and reverse osmosis method is applied. In the same topic, value addition, we have different kinds of products, jams and jellies and marmalades. Now these are high sugar products. So preservation is basically done with the help of high sugar. So always remember that in jams and jellies, sugar is the main preservative, sugar as well as high acidity. Now it's important to know the difference between jam and a jelly. Jam is basically made from a crushed or the ground whole fruit, whereas jelly is a mixture of the fruit juice. So basically, in case when we talk about jelly, we talk about the pectin. So pectin is a very important ingredient in case of jelly. Then we also have marmalades. Now marmalades are very much similar to the jelly. Only thing is that you use orange fruits or citrus fruits, and peels of the citrus fruits are suspended in case of a marmalade. Then you have preserves, which are again made up of the whole fruit or pieces, but these are immersed in the syrup or they may be dried. So the important ingredients in jam jellies are the pectin, the acid and the sugar. Sugar we have already said. Acid is citric acid, normally 0.8 to 1%, and pectin is the natural substance which is found in fruits, and normally guava, apple and papaya and plums are a very good source of pectin. So it is very easy to make jelly out of these fruits. However, if you do not even have fruits which are good in pectin, you can add pectin artificially. Let's see how to make a jelly. We can make a good jelly from even grapes. Fresh grapes crushed, you crush them, the homogenized mass is then taken and then finally sieved, and then you add pectin, mixing of pectin, then you add sugar, and finally filling and then pasteurizing. You fill them in bottles and you pasteurize them for about half an hour. So this is the thick gel. Now this gel which you see, this is basically because of pectin. So if you don't have pectin, or if you don't add artificial pectin, then you will not be possible to get this gel. Now this is how you have, if after the preparation, if you want to test whether your gel has reached the full stage or not, then you can test it with the spoon test. Then now we see some steps in making of a marmalade. We have already said marmalade can be made from citrus fruits. So you see the peeling and then you mixing with sugar, and this is the peel boiling. Finally these peels are again mixed into this mixture, filled in the bottles and then pasteurized, and finally. Now this is a very important thing, that is the end point determination in jam jellies. Now either you can use a refractometer to test the bricks, because once the end point has reached, your jam or jelly will have 65 degree of bricks. Second is the cold plate test. If you put it on a plate, cold plate, and you put it in a deep freeze, it will set like this. Then you have a sheet test. With the help of a sheet also, you can just see the way the jelly or a jam it falls. So if it falls in flakes, this means it is done. Similarly, even boiling point. Boiling point can also be taken as an index of end point. So if your product has 65 degree bricks, it will boil at 105 degrees C. So you can check. Then there are some problems which you find in these products. Like suppose in jelly making, the common problem could be a stiff jelly, or it could be a soft jelly, or a very common problem is sinuses. Your firm gel should look like this. But suppose if your pectin is very high, then your jelly could turn out to be stiff, or if it is very soft, then if it is very low in pectin, then your jelly can be soft. Similarly, cyanosis is exudation of fluid from the gel. This could be because if you have a very high acid content in your jelly. Another important point is inversion. If you read your text, you will find the term inversion being used. Now you should know what inversion is. Inversion is basically the conversion of sucrose into glucose and fructose. So these sugars are known as invert sugars. So this takes place in presence of heat and acid, because you use citric acid in your product, and you are also heating them, concentrating them. So this inversion takes place. If you don't have inversion in the range of 30 to 40%, then you can have a honey-like mass, or if the inversion is very less, then sugar will crystallize out. Then you have also mention of candies and glaze. Basically, these are again same kind of products. The whole fruit is preserved in a very high sugar, 65-68 degree Brix. But in case of crystallized and candy, these are the whole pieces or sliced pieces could be taken out, then dried or rolled into sugar. So crystallized, glazed products are same, only the finishing is different. Now we also have pickles, another value added products. Remember that pickles is a preservation of food in salt and vinegar, and the main preservation takes place is with the help of this microorganism, that is a lactic acid bacteria. So lactic acid bacteria is the main preservative action in pickles. Another important thing is you should always remember that these bacteria are salt tolerant. So if you have salt, these bacteria will grow. They grow in acidic medium and they require temperature of 30 degrees C. But their growth is also can be limited by high salt. So if there is high salt, say about 15 to 20%, then there will be no growth. So based upon this, the kind of salt which you are going to use, your pickle can be a fermentative pickle or it can be without fermentation. Like suppose the sauerkraut or cucumber pickle, these are examples of fermented pickle, whereas your mango pickle or your lime pickle, which we normally make at home, in these you use about very high concentration of salt, 15 to 20%. So there is no fermentation in these kinds of pickles. This is a fermented pickle sauerkraut preparation, shredding and mixing with salt. Salt here is less, 3%. That is why lactic acid bacteria can grow. So this is a fermented pickle. Then this is cucumber pickle, cutting and mixing it with salt and brine and vinegar, spices, and finally filling, pasteurizing. Tomato products is also a very important kind of products. Different kinds of products are mentioned in your text. Remember that ketchup, sauces, purees and paste again differ in their content of total soluble solids. Ketchups, it is 25 to 30 degree Brix, whereas in case of purees it is 9 to 12 and paste it is 25 degree Brix. Always remember that in case of tomato products you have to use sodium benzoate as a preservating agent. This is a common defect in tomato products. You see a serum separation. See, if you use a cold break method of processing, if you crush the fruits and if you don't heat them properly, this happens. There is a separation of serum. But immediately after crushing, if you give a proper heat treatment, then this serum will not separate. So this is a common defect in tomato products. Then there is the drying and dehydration. Drying refers to the removal of moisture from the food, and the optimum, always remember the optimum drying temperature is 60 degrees C. The primary treatments involved are blanching, sulfitation, packaging and storage, and again packaging and storage at low temperature. We have different types of dryers: cabinet dryers, tunnel belt dryers, fluidized bed dryers and vacuum dryers, depending upon the kind and the quality of material which you desire. The fourth block 4 talks about the plant layout and the site selection. Now, before you lay out a processing plant, it is very important to know about the site in which you want to lay down your processing factory, and the number of factors which you have to consider. You have to consider the availability of your raw material, whether you have good raw material available around, good cheap labor, transport facilities, water. Water is very important. Then electricity facilities, and then two important things: waste disposal, because factories have lot of waste problems, and then whether there is any further space or future expansion, because there is always a need for future expansion in later on years. So these are the common factors which you have to consider for a site selection. Then what is plant layout? Basically, plant layout is nothing but the arrangement of all the facilities which we have considered earlier. See, we have raw material, we have auxiliary facilities like water, electricity, then we have machines, and then we have work area. So if you can arrange all these facilities, this refers to a plant layout. If you what is the advantage of this plant layout is that there is increased efficiency. You can utilize the services in a better way, and this will save energy and also will save the floor space, and workers will be able to work properly. Then there are different types of layouts which are mentioned. One is the line flow process, and other is the intermittent flow process. Now, line flow process is a simple process in which all the steps are designed in a sequence, one after the other. Now, in case of the intermittent flow process, all the production processes may not be in a sequence, they may be in batches. Like suppose if mango is made into a pulp in one section, it may be dried in another, it may be frozen in the other section, or it may be made into a squash in the other. So all steps, they are interlinked, but they may not be in a simple line as in case of a line flow process. In the plant layout, a term has been used, that is ergonomic consideration. Now this refers to the human factor or the workers' safety or the issue related to workers' performance. Now three important things, that is education, engineering and enforcement, have been talked about. These are very important to ensure the human factor or the workers' safety and to improve their performance, because if the workers cannot work properly, then the plant layout is meaningless. Now for worker safety, you have to consider that your machines are laid out properly, there is fencing of the moving parts, machines are maintained properly, and you should allow only trained workers, trained manpower to handle the machines. Regarding the floors, there should be no cracks, there should be no pores, and there should be enough working space around for the workers. The floor should not be slippery or should not be rough. And then for working space, there should be ample of light, ventilation, and there should be also exit, emergency door. So all these are little small points which have to be considered for workers' safety. We also talk about good manufacturing practices. This is another issue which is related to worker safety, guidelines to maintain personal hygiene, have potable water. The workers should be able to use gloves and lab coats so that hygiene is maintained. Similarly, again, good manufacturing practices in context of the factory layout, clean floors, chimney, proper ventilation, proper light in the factory. There is another term which is used, that is inventory. Inventory refers to the stock of materials to facilitate production or to satisfy the customers. So basically it is a stock of materials which you have already in your processing factory. Then there is another term which is referred to as a downtime. Now downtime is defined as a time when the plant or any specific equipment is down or not performing. So downtime is basically referred to for the equipment. Suppose if any equipment goes out of fault. So it could be also because of some other reason, but basically downtime is specifically mentioned for the equipments. So breakdown of machines. So the common remedy is that we have to maintain proper schedules. A lot of emphasis has been given in the text upon maintenance schedules and monitoring and scheduled inspection to reduce the breakdown of machines and to save time. Then plant sanitation and effluent treatment. Now all these treatments are done basically to maintain a healthy environment in the processing factory. Water is a very important issue. We have seen water and the water sometimes becomes very is not potable and it is hard. Depending upon the presence of hardness, the water can be defined into soft or very hard. If it is about the concentration of salts are about more than 300 ppm, then the water is very hard. Temporary hardness and permanent hardness. Temporary hardness is basically because of bicarbonates and permanent hardness is basically because of salts, that is sulfates and chlorides. Remedy is there for boiling or addition of silicated lime, or in case of permanent hardness, washing soda or zeolites can be used. Now this is how softening takes place. Water is passed through columns and this column is packed with sodium. So when you pass the hot water, calcium salts are replaced with sodium. So you get a soft water. So this is a method of permanent removal of salts. What are the disadvantages if you use hard water? Because if you have hard water, then salts will precipitate out in the boiler and this will contaminate steam. The steam will become alkaline and it will corrode the aluminium and tin cans, and also it will reduce the boiler efficiency. And naturally, if you have more salts, this will interfere with heat transfer. So it is very important to use potable and soft water in the processing plant. Then wastewater management is another important issue because pollution has to be reduced. The pollution before it is discharged into the water bodies or the municipal sewage. There are three kind of water treatments, wastewater treatments, which I mentioned: the primary treatment, the secondary, and the tertiary. Tertiary is the most advanced kind of treatment, and primary and secondary. Primary basically refers to screening, filtration, sedimentation, settling down. And secondary treatment refers to the use of activated sludge or trickling filters. So if you see primary, secondary, tertiary treatment. Now this is just a pictorial view. In case of the primary treatment, the water is held into the sedimentation tanks and the sediments, suspended impurities are allowed to settle down, settling tank, then finally it is aerated, clarified and then disinfected with chlorine or with UV. This is how secondary treatment of water takes place. Secondary treatment adds activated sludge. Activated sludge is nothing but certain kind of microorganisms. These microorganisms, they use the organic matter in the wastewater and they break this down. So even oxygen bubbles are added to stimulate microorganisms to increase the breakdown process or to fasten the breakdown process. There is a term which has been used in your text, that is biological oxygen demand. Now this term is basically in context with the wastewater management. You have organic waste in your wastewater. Now this organic waste has to be decomposed. Now this decomposition requires oxygen. So the amount of oxygen which is required to break down this organic waste is known as biological oxygen demand. So normally in fruits and vegetable processing waste, the BOD is very high, about 1000 to 5000 ppm, whereas in milk processing plant the waste products are less, so this BOD is less. So that is all with reference to your portion. Now I would like to remind you that it's very important if you remember some important points like the use of what is biological oxygen demand, what is clarification, what is enzymatic liquefaction, and what are the kinds of preservatives which you have to use, sodium benzoate, potassium metabisulfite. And in case of jams and jellies, always remember the pectin concentration, the kind of pectin which you have to use, because pectin is very important. In case of tomato products, remember the differences between the kinds of products like paste and purees and ketchup, what is the difference between a ketchup and a sauce? Then in case of dried products, what are the important treatments which we use, like sulfitation or blanching? There are two important steps for making dried products. Then in case of the plant layout, what are the different kinds of layouts? We talked about the line flow and the intermittent flow process. So you should know what is the difference between the line flow and the intermittent flow process. Then regarding the use of wastewater management, you should know the difference between the primary treatment, the secondary treatment and the tertiary treatment. The tertiary treatment is an advanced type of a treatment. It is very similar to the water softening which we have seen, the water is passed through the columns and the calcium salts are replaced with the sodium salts. So that is an advanced kind of a treatment which is given to potable water. Potable water means drinking water. So, and then what is downtime? Always remember what is downtime, small terms, what is inventory, the stock of materials which is kept in the processing plant. And then also what are good manufacturing practices, GMPs? What are the simple good manufacturing practices which should be undertaken, or points to be considered for workers' safety? So these are certain very important points which you have to consider in the processing plant layout. Okay.